Lamoille Valley Ford, you won't have to settle for an ugly truck or SUV. Right now at Lamoille Valley Ford, we not only have a nice selection of new Ford vehicles on the lot ready for immediate delivery, but we also have a ton of late model, low mileage certified cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock. And folks, we need to sell them, and here's why. We have a massive amount of ordered and incoming 2023 Fords about to arrive, and we need to make room on our lot ASAP. Also, if you're in need by the end of the year, act now and don't get caught flat-footed this fall. Order the exact vehicle of your dreams by taking advantage of Lamoille Valley Ford's volume approach, and let us get your new truck or SUV ordered and built fast.
Woo! So drop from 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and the Big Dog Daddy Earring Clearance Sale happening right now at Lamoille Valley Ford.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need 3 things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Book it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show here on a Thursday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Short show once again up until 6 o'clock. Just 30 minutes. Red Sox, though, are going for the sweep at the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Sox are back at 500. They're still 4 games back in the wild card race entering play today, but Baltimore might be losing today to the Cubs. So, they are losing. They might eventually finally lose in that one, so the Sox can pick up at least a game potentially on the O's going into their weekend series. We got a lot to get to over these 30 minutes. Yesterday, I had my fun telling you about the guy who told me to get the F out of the restaurant. Today, nothing but nuts and bolts, all Red Sox, all Patriots talk. I got a lot to cover on both topics. So you can get on in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. It's 802-585-3026. It's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Again, and you can also watch the show every day on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or on my Twitter account.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Patriots are getting ready to take on the Panthers tomorrow night in preseason game number 2. And heading into his second season in the NFL, I don't believe there is any pressure on Mac Jones. I don't believe going into this year there is any pressure on Patriots quarterback Mac Jones. I got this question from ESPN Radio last night. They asked the same question of Mike Reese, who covers the Patriots. He was asked how much pressure is on Mac. Here was his answer.
I don't view the pressure on Mac coming from Patriots fans. I would say the pressure probably more on Bill Belichick in terms of how he sort of assembled the offensive coaching staff to take advantage of Mac, in the second year.
I agree 100% with Mike Reese right there. I believe that coming from Patriots fans like me and you, Mac Jones has no pressure this year. Despite making the playoffs last year, despite playing pretty well, despite having expectations this year, in my opinion, Mac Jones is largely immune from pressure. Do you feel the same way? 802-585-3026. Does Mac Jones have pressure this year in your mind? I really believe what I'm saying. This is not me just trying to make a hot take. This is not me just trying to get a reaction. I really believe Mac Jones doesn't have pressure. And that is so unbelievably rare. Because in how many situations around the NFL can you say the quarterback doesn't have any pressure on him? It's incredibly rare. Even on really bad teams, the quarterback has pressure. Trevor Lawrence has pressure in Jacksonville. Justin Fields has pressure in Chicago. Trey Lance has pressure in San Francisco. Even on bad teams or in adverse situations, quarterbacks have pressure. Mac Jones doesn't to me. To me, Mac Jones has already done the hard part. He has proven to us that he's competent and capable. So therefore, since I know Mac Jones can play, I feel like he is absolved of a lot of things if things go haywire, isn't he? Like if things go bad for the Patriots, Mac Jones isn't the first guy I'm going to. It is Bill Belichick. That's who I'm going to. Isn't it who you're going to? If things go bad for New England, if things don't work out, if Mac Jones struggles, the first place I go is Bill Belichick for not equipping him with a suitable coaching situation. Mac Jones has already shown that when things are good for him, when he's got a good play caller, a good offensive coordinator, he's already shown when he's got good stuff around him, he can do well. That stuff has been removed this year, and we don't think it's been adequately replaced. If Mac Jones struggles, I'm going to look at Bill Belichick and say, why did you not adequately replace it? Mac has already shown us he can be good when he's got this good insulated bubble around him. Why did you not rebuild that bubble when Josh McDaniels left? If Mac Jones struggles, I think it's more of a reflection on Bill Belichick and his coaching staff decisions than it is on Mac Jones himself. If the Patriots struggle, I'll probably look at the defense and say that was an issue. And I don't think Bill Belichick did a great job addressing the defense. I mean, Malcolm Butler at 32, Terrence Mitchell at 30. They drafted some good young DBs, but they didn't draft any linebackers. They didn't draft any pass rushers. So everywhere I look, things that can go wrong for this team, I feel like Mac Jones has an excuse for. Hey, the Patriots were bad. Yeah, but Mac didn't have a great offensive coaching situation. Okay. Hey, the Patriots weren't that great this year. And the defense wasn't that good. It's not Mac's fault. To me, Mac Jones is not under any pressure. I feel like he is absolved from a lot of criticism this year. Not criticism, but blame. If the season goes bad for the Patriots, Mac Jones is not going to be probably first, second, or third on my list. Bill Belichick, the coaching situation, the defense, all those things aided by Bill Belichick. But Mac Jones, to me, not a lot of pressure. Not a lot of pressure. Do you feel that way? 802-585-3026. Ross says we haven't talked about Malcolm Butler yet. We are going to talk about Malcolm Butler momentarily. But another reason why I'm not going to put the pressure on Mac Jones is because this whole discussion proves what I've been saying all along. And I'm sorry to repeat myself on this. Mac Jones isn't special. Mac Jones is good. He's a starter. He's probably a career starter, but he's not special. And that's okay to a degree. Derek Carr is very good, but not special. Kirk Cousins is very good, but not special. Jimmy Garoppolo is very good, but not special. There are plenty of good quarterbacks who are not special. Mac Jones is one of them. I expect special quarterbacks to overcome dysfunction. Special quarterbacks have to be able to overcome issues. Those guys have pressure on them. When you are expected to overcome everything around you, that's pressure. Mac Jones isn't good enough to have that pressure. He hasn't earned that kind of pressure. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have Devontae Adams. I don't care. Overcome it. Why? You're a future Hall of Famer. You may be the most talented quarterback in NFL history. I don't care what you don't have and what your team is putting you through. You are special enough that I expect you to overcome it. You've got pressure. Josh Allen lost his play caller and Brian Dable. So what? Overcome it. Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. So what? Tom Brady has a new coach, doesn't have Antonio Brown. Chris Godwin's out for a period of time, doesn't have Gronk. So what? Those guys have pressure. I don't give quarterbacks like that outs. You don't get free passes. You make the money. I come after you when things go haywire. I won't go after Mac Jones. I'll be going after everything around him. I don't hold him to the same level as I hold those guys to. I don't expect him to overcome dysfunction. I expect Mac Jones, I expect his organization to insulate him and protect him from problems. And if this thing goes haywire, I'm going to blame his organization for not doing that well enough. I don't blame Geno Smith for what happens in Seattle. I don't blame Davis Mills for what happens in Houston. And I'm not going to blame Mac Jones if things go wrong in New England. If they go wrong, it's going to be because Mac Jones wasn't properly insulated and wasn't properly propped up by the organization. And that's going to be a them problem, not a him problem. I think Mike Reese is 100% right. There's no pressure on Mac Jones. The target is on Bill Belichick. Mac has shown us that he can play. We know that he can function within a good system. The question is, does he have a good system? And that answer comes from Bill Belichick. We will find out if Bill Belichick provided him a good system. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM at WDEVradio.com. Peter in Williston says, Brady, agree with you and Mike Reese. Mac Jones has better weapons this season. It's incumbent upon Belichick, Patricia, and Judge to devise an offense on a game-to-game basis if they have to, or provide him with a good structure. Peter's right. Mac Jones has done his part. Like Trevor Lawrence, we're not sure if he can play yet in the NFL. Right? We're not sure. He's got pressure to prove that he can play. Justin Fields, we're not sure yet. He's got pressure to prove that he can play. Trey Lance has pressure to prove that he can play, and the organization did a good job moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, these guys got pressure. Mac Jones has shown he can play. I know he can do it. He can do it when everything is right. The question is everything right now? And the answer lies in what Bill Belichick's done. All right, a couple other Patriots-related notes here. Interesting. Malcolm Butler on Tuesday was placed on injured reserve, and that ends his season, right? When you're placed on injured reserve at this point of the calendar, it ends your year. We talked maybe about Malcolm Butler getting cut. Well, now it doesn't matter. Malcolm Butler is out for the season. His season is over. What I am curious about is what exactly is going on here. I told you I thought Malcolm Butler might get cut, and I don't think this team needs Malcolm Butler. So from a football standpoint, him being gone for the year is not that big a deal to me. But I want to know what exactly happened here. He played 23 snaps in the preseason opener last week. He recovered a fumble, and then he didn't practice since, and we have no idea what happened. The whole thing is a bit odd to me. I am not saying that Malcolm Butler's not hurt. But we didn't hear anything about an injury before the game. We didn't hear anything about an injury during the game. We didn't hear anything about an injury after the game. We never got word on why he wasn't practicing. Like, his season is now over. If he's actually hurt, there's no reason to be cryptic. This is not like gamesmanship where you're trying to withhold some information from an opponent. He is out for the year no matter what. So if he is hurt, why have we not heard what the injury is yet? And so the fact that we haven't heard anything makes me put my tinfoil hat on here. Part of me wonders if Malcolm Butler is not hurt, and this is all just a procedural move. Maybe Malcolm Butler wants to retire, and the Patriots have put him on injured reserve as a procedural thing to protect some of his money for him. Malcolm Butler's meant a lot to the organization. He made one of the biggest plays in organization history. He helped seal a Super Bowl victory for Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. Maybe putting him on injured reserve, and I don't know how all this works. Maybe putting him on IR and keeping him, in the organization protects some of his money on the way out the door. Maybe that's what's going on here. Like maybe Malcolm Butler was going to get cut, and the Pats didn't want to do a Super Bowl hero like that. So they just did this procedural move and said, look, you're not going to make the team, but we'll put you on IR to protect your money, and Malcolm Butler might retire. I don't know. Like, that's kind of where my mind is going on this, that Malcolm Butler is not really hurt, and this is somehow a procedural move to save some of his money. And for what it's worth, Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio kind of agrees with me.
With the New England Patriots, Brady, we've seen this time and time again. Nothing is off the table with the way they conduct their business when it comes to players and who they're going to keep. and who they're going to move on from. And you make the point. He's been such a terrific player for the Patriots. I don't think they wanted to have his ending be unceremonious, and that's why they're probably making this kind of move.
There you go. Like, maybe they just don't want it to be unceremonious. I think the Patriots can handle not having Malcolm Butler. The whole thing is just weird, though, when it, we haven't heard about an injury yet. The season's over for him. There's no gamesmanship here. Just tell us what's going on if he's hurt. And the fact that you're not leads me to believe that he just might not be. Text from Tom and Winooski. Brady, I know it's a little off topic, but I don't remember when the Patriots play the Browns. Does the new Deshaun Watson suspension affect the Pats at all? A little. Deshaun Watson gets 11 games and a $5 million fine. The Patriots play the Browns in week 6, so they're not going to see Deshaun Watson. So this is way bigger than football, but from the football standpoint, the Patriots avoid Deshaun Watson and they play Jacoby Brissett or somebody else for the Browns. So from a football standpoint, Patriots get off not having to play Watson. Watson can come back in week 13, and that actually helps the Patriots too. He'll play the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers. All teams that could be battling with the Patriots for playoff, either positioning or a playoff berth. So we're going to assume the Browns are better with Deshaun Watson at the end of the year than they are with Jacoby Brissett at the beginning. Well, you don't have to play Watson, and some of your opponents, some of your rivals in the AFC who you might be battling with will have to play Watson. That, from a football standpoint, seems to help the Patriots. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Wouldn't surprise me if Robert Kraft and Belichick are showing respect quietly for Malcolm Butler. Wonder if it has anything to do with COVID and vaccination status. The COVID rules are done for the NFL this year. So the COVID rules are completely done. If you test positive, you still have to miss. But, as far as all the different things you had to do and masks and all that, none of that exists this year. So as far as I know. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. When we come back, we'll get you ready for Red Sox and Pirates with the lineups, but also Dennis Eckersley is in a battle with the Pirates. I'll tell you why I think they're both right. That's next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
Summertime in Greensboro is great, and the Willie store is ready for summer. They have a great True Test paint department with all colors and all the paint supplies. Vermont natural coatings, too. Fine barbecue grills, lawn chairs, garden and lawn seats. Step into Willie's clothing and footwear department for all new summer styles. Swimwear, sandals, and flip-flops. Straw hats, too. The Willie store is full of meats, cheeses, and a fantastic wine and beer selection. Shop the Willie store across from Caspian Lake, Greensboro, open every day.
I had low back pain that was due to herniated discs.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, another satisfied patient who found regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics.
Over a very short period of time, the pain went away completely, and I've had absolutely no symptoms or pain since my treatment.
Before Dr. Garzone found QC Kinetics, he was looking at all the old school pain treatments.
It was recommended that I have steroid injections done, but then unfortunately my insurance company said that I would have to do 3 months of physical therapy first, and I needed to get better quickly.
With QC Kinetics, the doctor got lasting relief with no downtime.
I didn't have to take any medications during my treatment. I avoided surgery, and I am now pain-free.
Don't live with chronic pain, and don't go under the knife. Call QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. Treatments are not yet FDA approved.
DQ presents how to experience the new DQ Reese's Take 5 Blizzard with your 5 senses. First, open your eyes and see it all. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, caramel, peanuts, pretzels. It's beautiful. Then feel it. Oh, it's cold. Next, listen to it. Now, smell it with your nose. Oh, sweet top notes. And finally, taste it. Experience the new Reese's Take 5 Blizzard today. DQ, happy tastes good. Get it delivered at DQ.com. Delivery subject to availability, additional fees, and minimum order requirements.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer, so we understand motorcycles. No, really, we have a bike translator.
Okay, this is awkward, but this bike says he'd appreciate it if you removed his skull pattern saddlebags. He feels self-conscious about them around all the other bikes, and he says you're not fooling anyone. You mostly ride with your golfing buddies. Listen, I'm just the messenger here. Oh, no, I don't want to say that. I think you made yourself clear.
Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Whatever your interest, sports.
I think the Celtics are
current events.
We're stepping the primary campaign up a bit.
If you do get the tomato hornworm, you're going to see him a lot sooner.
Weather.
You may have heard of the word derecho. What is a derecho? Well,
WDEV has a podcast for you. Locally produced podcasts of our own shows and podcasts from our partners at CBS and ESPN. To access the full listing of podcasts, go to our website at WDEVradio.com.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM at WDEVradio.com. Red Sox baseball comes up at 6:05 with the pregame show. We will give you the lineups here momentarily. I want to get into this Dennis Eckersley versus the Pirates story. Let's kind of backtrack here. The Red Sox are going for the sweep tonight. The Pirates are really bad. I think they're 27 games under 500. This series started on Tuesday night, right? And the Red Sox were up 5-0 early in the game, and they were blowing Pittsburgh out. And Dennis Eckersley on NESN said this about the Pirates.
You talk about a no-name lineup. There's no team like this. Love to see some of the service time. You add it all up. It's not much. You know, just came from Kansas City, seeing all those young kids. This is different, though. Doesn't it seem different? They have a lot of prospects they're playing over there.
And serious prospects.
Yes.
The guys who are going to be in the big leagues.
This is a hodgepodge of nothingness.
They have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. Last year, they were actually 30th.
It's ridiculous. It really is. Pathetic.
So X says it's pathetic, says the lineup is a hodgepodge of nothingness. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not afraid to admit this. The other night when I gave you the lineup for game one of the series, there were 3 to 4 players for Pittsburgh I had never heard of. And I think I know this business pretty well, and I think I know teams pretty well. True story, 3 or 4 players in that Pirates lineup I had never heard of. So that's what Eck had to say. Well, Pirates players invariably heard those comments, and they were upset. Brian Reynolds said, basically, I don't care what this guy has to say. Reliever Will Crow said that those comments were crappy. They were BS, said that the team would use him as motivation, said he didn't like to hear that from a former player, from a former brethren. So Eck has PO'd the Pirates. And I've got to say, I'm not going to take a side here. I think they're both right. I was always taught in this business to have an opinion and take a side. I'm not taking a side here. My opinion is both parties are right. Dennis Eckersley is right. The Pirates lineup that Tuesday night was not a representative baseball team. And the Pirates players, they have every right to be offended. They are big leaguers, just like Eck was. Now, they're not Hall of Famers, but they're big leaguers. They're in the fraternity, just like Eck was. And Eck insulted them, said they weren't good enough. I would be insulted too if I were them. I frankly have zero problem with either of their reactions. Understand where Eck is coming from. Dennis Eckersley won World Series. Eck is a Hall of Famer. He knows better than anybody what good baseball looks like, what good baseball players look like, and he knows what good organizations look and act like. And he knows that what we saw on Tuesday night was none of that. He knows that. The Red Sox, the Pirates' payroll is $66 million. It's near the bottom of the league. Eck is not wrong when he says there's not teams like this. Eck is a broadcaster. It is his job to discuss what he sees and to use his personal experience to shape his commentary. He knows what the best of baseball looks like, and he knows that this isn't it for Pittsburgh. Hey, I look at that lineup again on Tuesday night. 30-year-old journeyman Ben Gamble's hitting cleanup. A whole bunch of guys who have played less than 40 games this season, and some of them probably less than 40 games in their career, are in the lineup. Eck is not wrong. It was a lineup that was devoid of talent in a lot of spots. It's a team that I would not say they're tanking completely, but it's certainly they're not putting the best team out there possible every year. For a guy who is in the Hall of Fame like Eck is, who has been a habitual winner, it has to bother him to look out and see teams not really going for it. So understand where Eck is coming from. But I also understand where Will Crow is coming from. You're being called out. You're being told that your team's not good enough and basically that you're an embarrassment to the sport. Wouldn't you be mad about that? This to me feels like an example where, think about this, right? You've got a brother or a sister and somebody else, like, you can say whatever you want about your brother or sister, right? Hey, look, my brother is lazy. My brother is selfish. My brother is all about himself. My brother is irritating. My sister talks too much. Like, you can say whatever you want about your own family. But the minute somebody else says something, well, then it's fighting words. I think the Pirates know their situation. Will Crow knows deep down that his organization's not as good as others. And he could probably go home and say it to his wife and it's fine. But when X says it, I get why he's offended. I can talk about my family. You don't talk about my family. I think both players are right here. I really do. Eck is doing his job. He knows what good baseball looks like, and that wasn't it. He knows what a good team and organization looks like, and he knows that that's not it. And Crow being told that his brothers on that team are basically jokes, I get why he's offended. I'm not taking a side here. They're both right. That is my side. X telling the truth, and Will Crow standing up for his guys. There's no problem with that. There's no problem with that. Texter says, I'd never heard of half of Pittsburgh's lineup the other day, too. Another texter says, Eck was being truthful and constructively critical. I don't believe he broke player code or anything because he's petitioning for the Pirates to spend more, which only benefits the players. That's an interesting point of view. Texter, Skip in Derby. Brady, I love Eck, but I disagree with you. I thought he crossed the line. I obviously don't think Eck crossed the line. The one thing I will get on Eck a little bit for is he needed to be a little bit more informed. And what I mean is this. The Pirates at one point had a more representative team than what played on Tuesday. What played on Tuesday was out there because of some other circumstances, not just because the Pirates are cheap. You look at the Pirates, they sold off pieces near the trade deadline. That's what bad teams do. They had Daniel Vogelbach, they traded him to the Mets. They had Jose Quintana. They traded him to the Cardinals. So the Pirates had a couple of better players, a couple of veteran players, guys who had been all-stars before, and they traded them. And Eck didn't seem to realize that. So, again, they're not playing all of these guys just because they want to. They're playing some of them because they have to, because they dealt away better players. Ke'Bryan Hayes is a very good young player. He's on the injured list. He's their top prospect. They've already signed him and invested in him a big money contract. He's injured, not available. David Bednar, an all-star closer, they held on to. They didn't trade him. He's on the injured list now. So while Tuesday's lineup was not good, there were at one point other pieces there for the Pirates that would have made them more competitive. They traded away some, and a couple are injured. They also deserve a little bit of credit for not trading Bednar or Brian Reynolds, their best overall player. Tanking teams do that. The Pirates are, again, it's a slow process. X not wrong about what we saw Tuesday night, but overall, the Pirates to me are not the Oakland Athletics. They didn't have a fire sale. They didn't try to go as cheap as possible. They signed veterans like Quintana and then flipped him smartly. So, All right, so let's see here. We got about 60 seconds left, and let's get the lineup. Josh Winkowski against JT Brubaker in the pitching matchup. Tommy Pham leads off in left. Rafael Devers at third. Xander Bogaerts is the shortstop. Alex Verdugo's in right. JD Martinez is the DH. Christian Arroyo is at second. Reese McGuire does the catching. Bobby Dahlbeck's at first. And Jaron Duran is in center. Tucupita Marcano is in left. Kevin Newman is at second. Brian Reynolds in center. Ben Gamble, the DH. Rodolfo Castro at third. O'Neill Cruz, a top prospect, is at shortstop. Greg Allen in right. Bing Madris is at first. And Tyler Heineman is the catcher. He bats ninth. Red Sox win. They get to over 500. They entered today at 4 games back. We'll see where they're at tomorrow. Brady Farkas Show podcast is available on our podcast channel on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and WDEVradio.com. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Go Sox.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated